Welcome, one and all, to episode 2 of Opportunistic Bets with Sam Mendelson. That's me. On my show, you'll hear a lot of sports bets, but now that we're deep into football, this is where it matters. They always said, right at Thanksgiving, you'll know what teams are for real and what teams aren't. But before we go into the Thanksgiving games, and before we go into my 8 picks of the week, let's just do a quick recap of last week. 6-2. I mean, the one game I should have probably put into that 8 was Cleveland, Detroit, and the under of 42.5. That seemed like a no-brainer. Hit that on another bet, but didn't put that in my 8 bets, so that one's on me, folks, but I won't let that happen again. But quick recap. I took New England -7 Thursday night. 25-0 against Atlanta on the road. No-brainer. Locked it in. Then I took Indy +9, thinking, you know what, that's a lot of points. Indy's a good team. Jonathan Taylor looks like an MVP candidate. And boy, oh boy, did Jonathan Taylor ever deliver. 5 touchdowns, 4 on the ground. JT put himself into the MVP conversation. And I know that we're in a quarterback-driven league, so you can't really give it to a running back. But Jonathan Taylor is the heart and soul of the Indianapolis Colts. And if you watch Hard Knocks, you'll see that this is a team that they're all buying into it, but they all know number 28 in the backfield, huge, 41-15, an insane game just to watch that. If you had Austin Eckler or you had Jonathan Taylor, if you had both of them, you probably won your fantasy weekend. Miami -2.5, that was a good one. A little close, dicey in the second half, but Dolphins pull away 24-17. Cincy -1, 32-13 against Vegas on the road. I really liked Cincy. I really thought coming off a bye that they were going to show that they're really a playoff bubble team, whereas Vegas, I mean, everything that's gone on with Henry Ruggs, John Gruden, Damon Arnett, as I mentioned in my last show, I just felt like they're just pretty much down, and you'll hear what I have to say about their Thursday night game and their Thursday night opponent. Cough, cough, maybe the jersey that I'm wearing, going 88 with CeeDee Lamb, who is in concussion protocol, but we'll get to that in a second. San Fran moneyline, could have probably done San Fran -7, been good. They win 30-10. Green Bay Mini, what a game, probably the game of the week, based on how it played out. 34-31, I took the over of 49. The only loss is, now in fairness to me, the first loss, I took Baltimore -6 when Lamar Jackson was fine on a Wednesday. I found out on Friday, Saturday, the guy was dealing with illness, a cold or a stomach flu, decides not to play. They win, but they don't cover 6 points. The spread actually jumped down to about 2.5. So if you took Baltimore 2.5 on Sunday with Tyler Huntley as the quarterback instead of Lamar Jackson, good for you. I did not lock that bet in, but it was in my 8, so I will own up to that. And I took Dallas +4, a tough game. I think going CeeDee Lamb getting hurt in the first half really was the big pivot for me, or the big focal point, as they just couldn't really score any points, but defensively looked fantastic on the road against Arrowhead. Which brings me, and now I won't start with the Dallas Cowboys, but the Dallas Cowboys are one of the 2 teams, them and the Detroit Lions, that play every Thanksgiving. Now, I'm Canadian, so our Thanksgiving is about a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, but what am I thankful for? I'm thankful for 3 NFL games on Thursday Thanksgiving. I mean, there's nothing else that I like to do than watch football. Give me 3 games at 12 o'clock, a 4:30, give me an 8:20, and I'm loving them. So let's go through the 3 games. The first one, not as exciting. A lot of memes out there about, hey, you don't need to, keep time away from your family. You can stay with your family, because the first game, you got Tim Boyle and the Detroit Lions, the winless Lions, at home against the Matt Nagy for one more game Chicago Bears, with Andy Dalton playing as quarterback because Justin Fields hurt his ribs last week against those Ravens that we just mentioned. I'm going to go with Chicago -2.5. Now, the money line on that one, -150, also a good bet if you don't think Chicago can cover 2.5. You think it's going to be like a 17-16 game. I just don't think Detroit can really move the ball. Well, Detroit's best player, DeAndre Swift, is going to be a huge focal point, but I think Chicago's defense, even without Khalil Mack, they're a good run stopping defense. So I like the Bears. The over under 41.5. I have no idea how this game's going to play out. I want to take the under. I feel like the under 43 is a good choice, but I'm taking Chicago 2.5. I think Andy Dalton, he played so bad with Dallas last year on Thanksgiving. Against the Bills, that I think that he's going to make it up and get a win for Chicago. I think Detroit just doesn't have enough pieces to get a win. They'll go to 10-1, I believe. And so I like Chicago minus 2.5 as my first lock of Thursday. Not my 8 picks. I'll get to those in a minute, but my first lock, if you want to do a mini parlay, this bet right here on Bodog or whatever betting website that you use. These 3 games, if you put them together for about $20-$25, you win about $115. So this is just my take on the Thursday games. Do a quick little parlay, get some money in your pocket before you go into Sunday and feel really good and confident. I'm liking Chicago minus 2.5. The next game, I got Dallas and Vegas. Now, I'm taking the under 53, and here's why. As I get out of the shot a little bit, thank you. I'm taking the under 53 in this one because Amari Cooper still dealing with COVID. He is not eligible to play. CeeDee Lamb questionable. He was practicing today, so I do like him to step up. But I don't think these teams, with where they are right now, the injuries that Dallas is facing, the abundance of problems that the Vegas Raiders are facing, can put up a lot of points. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be 23-17 in that range. I think 53 is a lot of points. But you look at what Dallas' defense has done. I mean, they stymied really Patrick Mahomes last week. No touchdowns for Mahomes. He gets a rushing touchdown from Travis Kelce, which who saw that coming? But then it was field goals the rest of the way. Oh no, Clyde Edwards-Helaire also ran one in. But they did a really good job of controlling the pocket. Micah Parsons, I mean, man, oh man, Daniel Jeremiah talked about it. He said, if I'm his agent, I'm putting this guy as pass rusher, not an outside linebacker or off-the-ball linebacker, because this guy can get to the quarterback. He's got speed. He's got quick moves. He's got the ability to fight off stronger, or bigger, I should say, offensive linemen. And I like the way that defense is playing. I think that, am I a little bit biased? Sure. But I think at home, Dallas is going to rebound. I think they're going to run the ball a lot with Zeke. There's going to be very few, big opportunities or big plays down the field. I think Darren Waller will help contribute for Vegas, but they don't really have a run game. So Dallas is going to be playing a lot of nickel, a lot of guys in cover 2, cover 3. So I like Dallas Vegas under 53. That's a good pick I have. One that I'm sticking with. And then the other one, which will be part of my 8 picks, is Buffalo minus 6. Now you're saying, Sam, how do you take Buffalo minus 6 on the road, short week, after getting clobbered by the Indianapolis Colts? Because this is a week-to-week NFL league. This is how it goes. One week you get killed by one team, another week you come back and you dominate the other team. It was reported today Alvin Kamara will not be in the game. That is the Saints' focus on offense. I saw what Jalen Hurts did last week. He was able to run the ball. I know they were at home, Philadelphia, and New Orleans was on the road, but the good pass protection that Buffalo will give Josh Allen is what happened with Jalen Hurts last week. And I really like Josh Allen with a bounce back game. I mean, Matt Breida all of a sudden is getting a lot more touches. So him, Singletary, Moss, I think Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, you could call it a revenge game. But this isn't a New Orleans Saints from years ago with Michael Thomas, who's out for the year. Drew Brees is retired. Kamara's hurt. I mean, their defense is great, and it'll be close for a little bit. I just don't think offensively they can do it. And I think Bills' defense are going, hey, we really screwed up last week. We gave up a lot of points. A lot of that was on us. I mean, we couldn't get them off the field. Our rush defense was terrible. And I think against Mark Ingram, or if he's questionable and doesn't play, it's Ty Montgomery. I think you're going to really see Buffalo's defense even take one back to the house. I mean, Trevor Siemian is scheduled to start. There might be some gadget plays with Taysom Hill, who just signed a new contract. But I think either Taysom Hill or Trevor Siemian, there's just not enough weapons. I think Buffalo's defense is really going to stymie New Orleans. And I think that Buffalo is a very good pick for your top 8. But if you want to do a mini parlay, this is what I'm going with. Chicago minus 2.5, Dallas under 53 with Vegas, and Buffalo minus 6. Okay. So that brings us to our 8 picks of the week. Now, last week I went through all the games, and that was probably my bad. I mean, it was the first show. I was trying to figure it out. I was doing the graphics. I was doing this. But I think what I'm just going to do is I'm going to focus on the 8 games, tell you why I like those 8 games, and just go from there. So the first game that I really like is Buffalo -6. Now, I touched upon it just a moment ago. I think Josh Allen, bounce back game. I think that defense is going to have a bounce back game. I think New Orleans offense just can't compete with a lot of these teams. I think Simeon's going to struggle putting the ball down the field. Sure, Buffalo will struggle at first with the sound in New Orleans inside their stadium. On a short week, you want to go with the team that's home, but I really think Buffalo showed last year on a short week going into Dallas and dominating them that they really need to have a statement game. They really need to start playing better. Look, all of a sudden, New England is number 1 in the AFC East. Buffalo is on the outside looking in, and they have yet to play. So in fairness, Buffalo's like, hey, we got 2 games against New England coming up in a span of 3 weeks. That being said, the way the standings are right now, New England ahead of Buffalo. Buffalo needs a big game. New England's going to have a big game against Tennessee later on Sunday, but Buffalo really needs to set the tone. I think they're going to run the ball. I think Josh Allen is going to run for over 50 yards, maybe even get in the end zone on the ground himself, but I think there's going to be a lot of passes that are just you're not going to be able to cover and protect Stephon Diggs and Sanders and Dawson Knox and Cole Beasley, so Buffalo -6. I really like them this week. They're my first lock of the week. My second one, I'm going Carolina -2. Now, you could take Carolina on the money line, and that's a very good choice too. But I think Carolina -2, it's giving me the same odds pretty much of the money line. Yeah, money line is -130 in Carolina. Now, I know the Panthers' tough loss at home against Washington and Taylor Heineke. So now this week they go up against Tua and the Miami Dolphins. I just think the Dolphins, for whatever reason, they just haven't been able to get things going. I think Tua struggled. He's had moments where he looked good. He really starting to form a relationship with Jalen Waddle, his college receiver at Alabama. But Carolina -2, I think you give another week of Cam Newton in the Matt Rule offense. I think Christian McCaffrey is the most electrifying player when he touches the ball. I mean, did you see that play he made? If you haven't, I would definitely go on Twitter or YouTube. But he caught a pass, and he's running to the right, and he looks like he's going to get hit, and he's going to go down. But his, forearm keeps it up, his head stays on, and then he ends up going for another 3-4 yards. So I think the defense definitely struggled last week against Taylor Heineke. I think Taylor Heineke maybe had his best game of the year, maybe best game of his career, the way he was throwing the ball down the field so efficiently with him and Terry McLaurin. I don't think Miami just has it options. They have tight ends. They have a running back in Myles Gaskin who's under about 4 yards a carry, so that's not great on his end. I think the defense has had its moment against Baltimore. It's prime time moment in the sun, but sometimes, as Icarus said, you fly too close to the sun, you're going to get burned, and they struggled. I mean, Elijah Moore had a big game last week. I mean, Jets, Joe Flacco are definitely in the game. I know it's on the road. They're on the road again. So give me Cam Newton. Probably Cam Newton rushing touchdown. I mean, I love what he did. He scored it, took the ball, ran to the middle of the field, put it on the Panther, did his Superman. I'm a big fan of Cam. I may have picked him up in my fantasy league with Mahomes on a bye. So I'm a little bit biased there, but I think him, McCaffrey, and the defense, the -2 spread doesn't worry me at all. So I'm going Carolina -2 in that one is my second lock of the week. My third lock, I'm going Chargers -2.5. Now, the Chargers are in Denver. Denver is a very tough place to play in. I haven't really done all my research, so I'm not sure what the weather's going to be like. But I watched Justin Herbert on Sunday night, and boy, oh boy, can this guy throw the ball. I mean, sure, Austin Eckler was fantastic, but Pittsburgh defense is no slouch. I think Denver had its moment in the sun. I keep saying that, but it's true. It's a week-to-week thing. They had their moment in the sun. They beat Dallas. Everyone was like, okay, maybe Denver's for real. Let's see what they got. Teddy Bridgewater. And then they lay an egg at home against Philadelphia. Then they have a bye week. Now they're back, and they're playing their division opponent, the Chargers. I know Melvin Gordon's going to be super amped up playing his former team, but Herbert, Keenan Allen, Mike Will, I think Joey Bosa's starting to get a little bit more healthy. He looked good on Sunday night. I mean, Herbert is learning how to read offenses. 90 yards rushing last week. I mean, that was just a product of that's what Pittsburgh gave him. I think it's definitely going to be tough in the cold weather, but I think Justin Herbert, who played in Oregon, played in some, questionable weather, if you will, rain, sleet, whatever he's going to go up against, wind, he's going to be fine. Chargers -2.5. I think that's an easy pick. Denver, I mean, sure, you got Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. They're going to try and run the ball as well, but I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is going to be able to move the ball efficiently down the field, and I think the Chargers are just going to put up way too many points. My fourth pick is I'm taking the Eagles. Now, it's tough to say the Eagles are on the up and up, but it looks like they are, and they get a big game against the Giants. I mean, they played close against the Chargers, lose on a last-second field goal at home. Then they go to Denver, they win in Denver. Then they come home, and they beat the New Orleans Saints, who are in, that kind of bubble 7th spot range with Philadelphia right now. Philly -2.5. I'm really liking Jalen Hurts. I mean, say what you want. There was a lot of intrigue about what are they going to do with him. But Philadelphia has really found their guy, I think, in Jalen Hurts. I think him and Devontae Smith are really going to build some sort of chemistry. They've already shown it already. Dallas Goedert just signed an extension. He's been their guy for the most part. If he's a PPR fiend, if you have him in fantasy, great. But then you look at that defense, and Fletcher Cox leads the way, but they get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. And what we saw... Welcome back, and let us continue with the 8 locks of the week, the Sam's 8 best picks of the week. So we got Buffalo -6, we got Carolina -2, Chargers -2.5, Philly -2.5. Let's see what the next one is. It's the Jets +3.5. Dun dun dun. Why am I taking the Jets? Why am I betting on the Jets? Because they're facing the Houston Texans, and you're giving me points? Sure, the Texans had their big win of the week against, the top team in the AFC in Tennessee Titans without Julio Jones, without Derrick Henry, in the rain. A.J. Brown leaves the game, and it just seemed like everything was working. I'm a big fan of Tyrod Taylor, but Zach Wilson is getting the start. Micah White, Joe Flacco, COVID, they're unavailable. Josh Johnson, the backup. Zach Wilson's like, I need to get my job back because Joe Flacco looked good last week in a loss. Mike White beat Cincinnati. He got a win for us, and then kind of, struggled, or I should say kind of faded after that. Zach Wilson's only win so far in the year at home against the Tennessee Titans. So why am I betting the Jets? Well, because they're at home, and they're getting points. And I just think the fans in New York are going to help elevate. Sure, there's no Michael Carter, but Ty Johnson will be there. The defense has been, for the most part, decent. Like, they have moments where they look really good, and I really think the Jets +3.5 against a Houston Texans team that, for all intents and purposes, I mean, these are two of the worst teams in the league outside of Detroit, and I'm not going to be watching this game, but I will if it's close, and I want to see the Jets win the game, but I don't feel comfortable in that. I think that, Houston got a break last week. Tennessee got them on a bad game. I think the Jets +3.5 is a good pick. Not my favorite pick, but when you look at other games out there, there's Minnesota San Fran, which I'll get to in just a moment, but there's Green Bay Rams, you got Seattle Washington, Atlanta Jacksonville. Those really can go either way. And the Green Bay Rams can, by the way, just a 1-point spread for the Rams. I don't even know. It's in LA, and I just think that it's going to be a lot of either Matt Stafford going all the way. Is Rodgers 100%? No, but can he play the way he did last week? Devontae Adams. I mean, that I just don't want to touch that game. So those are the first 5. We got 3 more, and here's number 6. New England money line -290. Now, New England at home, they are always a favorite. But they're going up against the AFC top team in Tennessee, who's coming off a dreadful loss that I just mentioned against the Texans. And New England's favored by 6 points, 6.5 points. I know they just waived Tennessee Adrian Peterson. I know they brought in Golden Tate to the practice squad. I know Dante Foreman is going to be the running back that they go with. I know A.J. Brown and Julio are questionable. This is a massive game. And if you're telling me New England, who's got the extra few days coming off a win against Atlanta, I mean, they're on an extended bye, so to speak. New England minus 290. That's, as I mentioned, it's in that 250 to 300 money line range where I like that. I'll be able to put that, and it goes well with a parlay if you want to do that. If you want to do it straight out, you got to put a little bit more money, but I just don't know if I like the over-under, which is 44 points in that game. I think it's going to be a tightly contested game. I think New Orleans defense is up there in the top 5 right now. The way they're playing, Matthew Judon, say whatever you want about him not liking macaroni and cheese, which is just bonkers to me. He is a absolute beast on the field. J.C. Jackson, you got the McCourtney brothers. I mean, you got Kyle Van Noy. They just seem to be hitting all the right buttons. And I think New England money line minus 290, if you put that in a parlay with a few other games, it's going to hit. So I don't think Tennessee's got it. I know that last time Tennessee was in New England, it was Tom Brady's last game in New England. It was that AFC wildcard game, and Tennessee had that pick 6, which was Tom Brady's last throw in New England, in a New England uniform, but also in Foxborough. So a lot of storylines here, and I think Vrabel is definitely a great coach, and he's going to get his team to play for him. But I really think New England money line right now, you got to go with the better team, the more healthier team. Mac Jones, he's not going up against a top defense. I mean, Tennessee will sure show him some blitzes, but I think Mac Jones, for everything that he's done and the way Josh McDaniels has him prepared each week, he definitely looks like the top quarterback. I mean, he's got more wins himself than all the other rookie quarterbacks do combined. He had another one last week. And I expect him to add another one this Sunday at home against Tennessee. Number 7, I'm going mini plus 4.5 on the road against San Fran. Both these teams are playing well, but one thing is for sure, Minnesota plays tight games. They just do. Whatever reason is, if they're down 10, if they're up 10, the game ends up coming down to a last-second field goal. It happened last-second touchdown against Dallas. It happened against Arizona. They lost. It happened against Cincinnati. They lost. They beat the Chargers just at the end. Green Bay, they hit a game-winning field goal at the end. I mean, Minnesota is that team this year that is every game. There's no blowouts. It's going to be tough. And now you go on the road against San Fran, who all of a sudden, after coming off the bye, getting George Kittle healthy, playing well against the Rams, getting that win on Monday night, then going in Jacksonville and just walking all over them. They are looking very good. I like their defense. I like what they're doing, but I also think that there's a lot to be said about Minnesota's defense. You got Harrison Smith in the secondary. You got Anthony Barr. I know there's all this drama with Everson Griffin, so I was a little skeptical putting this in there, but I look at that offense and I say, hey, you got Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Sure, maybe one of them gets covered, but the other guy goes off. Justin Jefferson went off last week. Thielen got his touches as well against a Green Bay defense that had looked very good in the last few weeks. I would probably even argue that they've looked better defensively in the last few weeks than San Fran has. I can't take that Jacksonville game into consideration. I think what they did against the Rams was fantastic. Can they duplicate it? Sure. But I think this game's going to be a lot closer. I think Dalvin Cook especially should have a good game. They're going to feed him a lot. I think he's going to have one of those big touchdowns where he runs off the tackle, off the guard on an outside run, and then just goes down the field for 65 yards. If that does happen, remember this clip. Just clip it, put it in a little TikTok or Instagram and share that, because I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. It's just they're going to be running the ball, and it'll be like the second or third quarter, and they'll just hand it off at like the 30-yard line, 35-yard line, and Dalvin Cook's going to break 1 tackle, 2 tackles, and gone. So I think Minnesota is able to put up enough points. San Fran's definitely starting to click it up. I really love George Kittle and Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk has all of a sudden gone into the mix. He gets into the end zone last week, so is he back? We'll see. Did that make them more lethal? But Kirk Cousins, Jimmy G, I think it's kind of a wash. So I'm looking at like the perimeter players, the guys that will surround them. I think San Fran's O-line's slightly better, but I think the running back way better, obviously in Minnesota. I think the receivers as a whole way better. Tight end, sure, give it to George Kittle and San Fran, but the one thing that I would say another edge is Kyle Shanahan. He's got the play calling edge, so I really like what San Fran's going to do. And San Fran could win this, but I don't think they're going to win by more than 4.5 points. I could see it being a 28-24 game. I could see it being a 35-31 game. So I think it's one of those games, definitely probably, up there with the Green Bay Rams game as the game of the week. So I like Minnesota plus 4.5. So I've taken a couple underdogs. And my last pick, what's that one going to be? It's going to be Baltimore Sunday night. Now, Lamar Jackson expected to play. Whatever sickness he had last week, that was in the past. They got the win. He looked horrible in prime time against Miami. So you don't think that this guy who's already won an MVP in the first couple years of his season, his career, is going to bounce back in another primetime game? Here's why I like Baltimore. I think that Lamar Jackson is going to go off. I think he did that a couple years ago in the famous game on, I think, Sunday or Monday night. It was one of those games where he had to go to the bathroom and he comes back and they end up winning on like a last second throw or like with 7 seconds left, and then Cleveland had to do like one of those trick plays to try and get them involved. But Cleveland has just not looked good. I mean, they felt so happy after that win. It was a 13-10 win against Detroit with like Detroit marching and like late in the fourth quarter to like take the lead. So I don't really know what I'm getting with the Cleveland Browns. I listened to Colin Cowherd this week and a couple other guys, Nick Wright, and they're all talking about like Baker should have shut things down. When Case Keenum came in, they got that win against Denver, I believe, on Thursday night. That should have been where Keenum got a couple more weeks, even if they were struggling. Baker's just trying to play through injuries, and we're in the NFL where there's no flu game like Michael Jordan has where a guy can go off for 40 points. You're judged on if you play and if you don't play. Kyle Murray hasn't played in 3 weeks, and the team's gone 2-1. Lamar Jackson didn't play yesterday. They win. On Sunday, they win. Dallas didn't play. Dak, when he was hurt, they win that one with Cooper Rush against Minnesota. So Baker's really in a situation, and I'm a big fan of Baker. A lot of people hate him. I think it's one of those hate-love situations. I really like Baker Mayfield. I'm a massive fan of Nick Chubb. I just think that a big pivotal game Sunday night in Cleveland, where they've had a lot of success within inside the division, and Marquise Brown is back. Mark Andrews is supposed to be healthy, or supposed to, be fine, and because I know he got a little banged up near the end of that game. You got the best kicker in the league, in the world, Justin Tucker, and I'm just gonna go with the better coach here as well. I mean, Jim Harbaugh is just an absolute stud, and I love a coach when he comes out after the Thursday night games and says, it's on me. It's like it's not our fault. Like, you can easily blame your players, and there's coaches who do that, but John Harbaugh. Jim is in Michigan. John Harbaugh was, one of those guys who, he's an old timer. He's been around forever. He's won a Super Bowl. So he knows, like, hey, there's no point in throwing my guys on the butts. We're right there. We're leading our division. And this is another step for Baltimore to continue to lead that division. Pittsburgh doesn't look like they're the real deal. They tied Detroit. They lost a tough one against the Chargers. Cincinnati's got a game this week against Pittsburgh. That's going to be a big one to see who kind of takes that step forward, and which of those teams loses that game will probably be on the outside and could start packing their bags towards the offseason. And then I just look at Cleveland. I think we had all these expectations after what they did last year, but trading Odell Beckham, I mean, Baker's hurt. The defense secondary has been banged up and has not looked great. The only person that is there every game and is going to cause havoc on people is Myles frickin' Garrett. So those are my 8 picks. I mean, you can leave some comments. You can hit me up on Twitter at @Mendy_Island. Tell me, hey, what'd you like about this one? What didn't you like about this? But that's my 8 picks. I'm excited for the games Thursday. I want to get these in as well. So there's 3 games tomorrow. You got Chicago, Detroit. You got Vegas versus Dallas, and you got New Orleans versus Buffalo. Should be good ones. If you follow my 3 bets, you might win some money, and hopefully you win some more money and be opportunistic going into Week 13. Thanks so much. Look forward to the next one.